everybody, this is Desiree with Whisper Creek Designs. Today we're making the Pinecone necklace for September's craft. And what you'll want to do is have all of your items ready on the velvet mat. You have your beads, the jump ring, and the lobster clasp. And of course the pinecone. What I'm doing here is just folding the hemp cord in half so that the pinecone will be at the middle of the bottom of the necklace, and just making an overhand knot with the pinecone. If you make the knot closer to the pinecone, then you'll have more beading space on the hemp cord to use. Thankfully it was nice out, so I was able to record outside. It's so cute. I love the antique brass look on the pine cones. I got my beads out. I have the accent beads and the regular beads. And I just put the lobster clasp and the jump ring together. In the kit, it will come separately, or if you bought your own materials, you can just have everything out and ready to use. So to start, I put 5 beads on each side of the necklace. And this is 0.5 millimeter hemp cord, so it'll fit through the holes of most of the glass. These are 6-0 seed beads. There's 10 grams that I use, which is about 120 beads. I did count one of them just to check. But this one is the mahogany mix from Hobby Lobby. I really like the mix of the glass, the silvery, and the stone look beads, because they're really just really looked like fall to me. And they have some metal looking beads too, although they're coated glass. I wanted to use the glass and metal so that this will be an item that lasts longer. It's a little bit more on the spendy side, but it will feel, the weight of it feels better than plastic beads, and then the look of them, they last a lot longer. So this side you can see that the cord is a little bit thicker. Sometimes that will happen, and what you can do is just kind of squish it down a little bit and run one bead through at a time. If anybody knows why running 2 or 3 beads will not work, let me know in the comments, because I tried it a couple times and it wasn't working. I'm like, oh well, I'll try this again. Just do 1 bead at a time. Also, some of the beads naturally have smaller holes, so if you do come across a section that's a little bit thicker, if you find the beads with a little bit bigger holes and put those down first, then you can use the smaller beads when the natural cord is smaller. The hemp cord is not a completely uniform thickness all the time. Sometimes it'll have little bumps or natural little burrs in the cordage. Oh, there's 5 and 5. 5 and 5, so we're going to make another overhand knot to keep the beads in place. You don't have to have the knots. If you want to, you can just string all your beads on in whatever pattern you like, and then just knot on the lobster clasp on one side and the jump ring on the other side. I like the knots just because of how it looks decoratively, but it does take up a little bit more of the hemp cord. So if you want a slightly longer necklace, it'll be maybe 1 or 2 inches longer if you don't put the knots in it. And then you'll be able to have it hang a little more, because it does hang a little bit, but not a ton. So, and I have a very short neck. So usually I will wear a little bit longer necklaces than this, but for the pattern and for the look of it, I liked the shorter look. Ah, I love those colors. I love the colors of the mahogany beads. About once a month, Hobby Lobby has all their beads and findings half off. So if you're able to catch it on a week that it's half off, if you are buying your own materials, that is a good way to go. There's the first gold accent bead. And these are 6mm round metal beads. I was also looking at a metallic brass bead for this, but the gold just popped a little more against the colors, and the beads had you can see some of the beads have that bronze color, so I didn't want it to be too much bronze with everything. Because that's like fall, you've got the gold leaves and you've got the brown leaves and then you've got some of the yellowy ones. I want to kind of bring those notes to everything. There's both of the accent beads on, so you got 5 and 5, and decorative knot, and then the accent bead. And then I'm making another knot again after the accent bead. I like this project because you can see your progress really quickly. So it's encouraging for, I don't know. I like seeing progress fast because I'm not a super patient person, but it is good for me to learn patience. That was one thing when I was doing the devotional, something I thought about with the growth of a pine cone is like, how many times do we see one of those tiny little trees? We had some fires here in the Northwest in 2020, and about a year later, you could go in places that had burned a lot, and there were little tiny fir trees or pine trees growing up, maybe a foot tall, and they're so cute. And there's one section where there was so many burned trees, and then there was one little tree, and it was just like this little tiny green baby tree in a whole hill of black and brown burned stumps and branches, and it was just so hopeful looking. So this one has 10, I believe. I think I did 5, 10. Yeah, 5, 10 beads on the second round, and then another knot. Then we'll put another decorative bead. You can work this doing all one side of the necklace and then all the other side, but for the photos and the progress, I just chose to do one side at a time. On here, if your knot is getting too far away from your beads, if you pull up the part that's closer to the beads and kind of scooch it with your finger, it'll go closer to the bead, so you don't have such a gap in between. Unless you like the look of the gap and you can keep it, but I like it more snug up next to it. Anyway, I was saying with the devotional, and patience. The devotional was about wisdom and how it grows like a tree, but also one of the fruits of, in James, they were talking about how. Let me look it up real quick. James. It's James 3. James. But the wisdom that is from above, it's verse 17, but the wisdom that is from above is pure, then peaceable, gentle, and easy to be entreated, full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy. I guess it doesn't mention patience in there, but fruits of the Spirit, it reminded me of that, and patience is one of those. And the amount of time it takes for a tree to grow, it takes a lot of patience from a human perspective, so it's good for me to learn patience. Right here, the bead is really, it has a little, the stone looking ones have a little bit more of a small hole, and this one was just not going, so I think I just pull this one off. Yeah, I had some beads already on there, but it was not gonna go no matter how much I tried to coax it. So we just put those back down, and I got a bigger bead until I get past that thicker part of the cord, and I'll just keep working on that. Yeah, the glass ones, the glass purpley ones in this mix have a little bit bigger hole, and you can see that I used one there to get through that thicker part. And the metal looking ones have a bigger hole. So I don't know if you can tell on the cord, but the thicker section is now covered up by the beads with the bigger holes. Slightly bigger. Oh, okay. So later I'll use the one with the smaller hole later on when the cord is the normal length and not quite as thick. And there, the knot was a little bit away from it, but you just tuck with your fingers a little bit and get it closer to the bead so it's not as far. Ooh, progress. I really like when a project starts coming together and you can see all the different colors, because you can sketch something out, but until you see it actually coming together, it's like, the idea is working. It's very rewarding. This one's being stubborn. Also, the end of my, the metal bead. The metal beads are hollow. So what you'll want to do is kind of line up the tip of the cord and make sure it's not frayed, and just go straight through, because then it'll come out on the other side pretty easily. Otherwise, it can get bunched up inside the bead, which is really annoying. But if that happens, you just pull out the cord, like straighten it out with your finger, just pull it straight a little bit, like I did right there. And then do it again, because try again, right? So you can see on this one it's kind of having an issue getting through, and I can just get the little bit of it out. Just grab the little end, and yep, there we go. Had to, yeah, the hemp is really nice where if you straighten it with your fingers, you really don't have to trim it that much. If it gets really frayed, you can just trim the very end with the scissors, but you don't want to do that too much, otherwise you're gonna shorten the necklace strand too much. The loop is getting smaller. There we go. Awesome. I really like that bead mix. It's so fall, and I love fall. Fall's my favorite season. We had kind of a cool summer, but I am looking forward to fall. September 1st now, so. It was a little tiny bit rainy this morning, but not really. It was a little bit misty, but it's sunny now, so we'll have to wait and see when the cooler weather comes. You can see here the end of the, it's getting a little tufted. It's tufting up. And I try not to put too many of the same bead together. I was kind of wondering if it would be interesting to put the colors separated, like have like the 5 at the beginning be like the purple glass one, and then have the 10 be like the metallic bronze one. But I kind of like the mix of all the different ones together because it kind of reminded me of a pile of leaves on the ground in the fall. We started having some leaves around, but they're not too crispy yet. They're just kind of there. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 6, 7, 8, 9. This one should have 15. So 5, 10, 15, and then the next one will be 20. The velvet mat is really nice. I initially wasn't going to have anything like that. I was just going to have like a little tray. And then I was remembering back to when I do other beading projects, and I was like, trying to get the seed beads, the bigger seed beads out of the tray is really a pain unless you like stick your finger and you can get a few up. So I decided to look into it, and I was like, oh, you can use a velvet mat. I'm like, that would be great to include with these kits because not only is it going to be helpful for me, but for new beaters and experienced beaters, I mean, it just helps them not roll around so much when you have something slightly fluffy underneath. And at the store, they had the thicker one in red and black, and then they had a thinner one. They had like a royal blue, they had the royal purple, like this was, and they had a green. But this one, I love purple anyway. I mean, my logo is purple, and my phone case has purple. Purple and teal are my favorite colors. My water bottle is purple and teal. But this one was just so pretty, and so I decided to get that one. And I really like how it contrasts with the fall, the browns and the metal colors of fall. Then it's good for other projects too. So if you got the kit, and you either have beads left over or you like the beading and you want to do more beading, you can keep that and use it for other projects, of course. Or if you didn't like beading and you like sewing better, you could use it for sewing something. Or even if you're going to gift the necklace to somebody, you could use that to put in a little box and keep it nice. Or store it with velvet too. It'll help protect it from getting banged up or anything, getting dusty. Let me know if you want me to fast forward through parts like this, or if you like doing it at the actual pace that I have it, that I was crafting it. So I was considering fast forwarding through parts like this, but I didn't know for someone who's just beginning if they would also like to keep that so they can craft along with it, or if they would just pause, or if they just want to watch it and then pause. But for now, I'm just going to keep it at the exact speed that I was making it at, and then later, if people do want, if they do want a longer or a shorter version, I can do these in sped up time and not be watching me bead every single bead. But I think for new beginners it would be helpful. So there's 5, 10, 15. And then a metallic bead, golden round bead, and another knot. Nice. And the other one. These are the last 2 accent beads. So when I did this design, I didn't quite. There's something called the Fibonacci sequence, and that is something that occurs in nature where you have a pattern that increases a certain amount each time. What it actually is you do 1 and 1, like you have stripes. Like they use this in knitting a lot. So if you have 1 red stripe, 1 blue stripe, then the next color you do 1 plus 1 is 2. And then you do 1 plus 2 is 3. And then you do 3 of the next color. Anyway, I kind of use that with, I like using that in crochet and knitting. And then I use that a little bit here where it's 5 and then 10, 15, 20. It's just increasing by 5s for this one. So it's not exactly like that. But I like the gradual increase. Which is something is just reflected from nature where, you know, like the days increase, the darkness is increasing now, the light was increasing, getting towards summer. But I liked how the look was, but it's something you can definitely play with if you like more even numbers. You could do, I think it's 20 or 10, 10, 10 beads on each side with accent bead in between, or 20, 20, 20 beads in between. I think that was it, because if there's 120 beads and you divide that in half, it's 60 beads. So you have 60 with 3 accent beads, so it'd be 20 beads and an accent bead, 20 beads, accent bead, 20 beads, accent bead. But then you would end with an accent bead, unless you start with the pine cone and then you put the gold bead starting right next to it and then go up from there. And then you would end with beads and then your clasp in the back. I just kind of wanted to make it so you can have the beads with the accent beads, but not have it overwhelming. I guess that's why they call it an accent. And your fingers will probably be thinner than mine. They have chunky little fingers doing that. Also, message me with any ideas of kits you would like, either beading, sewing, knitting, or crocheting. So those will be the 4 I rotate through. I might do some other ones depending on if there's a request for them or not, but so far just rotating through those 4. And then for Christmas in May is going to be mini kit months, where there's going to be a craft of each type of, a kit of each type of craft, and they'll be smaller so that you can gift them. You can just have like a quiet evening to read and have some tea and do a little craft. I'm really excited about the Christmas ones because they're gonna be super cute, but it's a surprise, so stay tuned. This one's getting toward the end. It's getting a little bit toward the end of the cord too. But you can see The beads are starting to run out. The beads are measured by weight of 10 grams, so it won't be exactly the same for each kit, but everyone has about at least 120 plus, 10 to 14 extras. I ended up having like 12 extras, so I did the 5 beads, 10, 15, 20. I did 20 and I did a knot. And then I did like 5 or 6 more on each side. I just split whatever I had left and the space I had left. If you want more space to make a knot, because it kind of got crunchy at the end here, a little bit squishy trying to get the knots done, you can definitely leave more space and, use the beads for something else. If you get some more hemp or wire, a really cute thing would be just to do a little loop with your extra beads and make a little zipper pull. Or instead of like the full bookmark, you could make like a small bookmark with a loop of the brown mahogany mixed beads at the end, which would be really cute. Don't know why my voice is getting higher at the end of each sentence, but I think as I record more, it'll be more natural. But I haven't recorded a whole lot. I did a little bit for some classes online. I had a speech class online, and it was weird because you just record it and then your classmates online read it and give commentary, or watch it and give commentary. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's the 20. I used the dark brown thread here. Some of the kits come with black and some of the kits come with dark brown. And there's also a natural one that was included in the hemp cord I got. But it was a lot more burly, which it had a lot more of the bumpy thick spots. And it would have been a pain to craft with. So I did use it for the bookmark tutorial. And I really liked the colors with it. So if I do a refill on the kits, I might use some of the natural color too. But it's kind of a variety of what you get. But all the beads are the same. There are 6 gold accent beads and the pine cone. Yeah, I'll get into the end of the cord there. Yeah, I'm just counting. I've got my 20 and 20 at the end, just counting how many beads I have left. And you may have slightly more or slightly less left at the very end, and you can, decide what to do with those if you want to put them on or if you want to use them for something else. Another cute idea would be to take your leftover beads and make like a little friendship bracelet to gift to somebody, which would be cute. Really trying to encourage everybody to share the skills you learn with others, because you never know, it's good to have time to focus on something else, because a lot of people have a lot going on, and it's just good to have something that uses your mind and your hands at the same time, and also reminds you of something good. Like fall, like the trees, okay, so this part, don't do this, because I did this first and later I did not like how it worked out and I changed how it looks. So what I did here, which is a mistake, just used the end and I just looped it around, and there's a huge gap in between the beads and the jump ring. And if you want to, and you don't mind how it looks, you could do that. It was also really hard for my chunky fingers to get this into a loop and get it through because it's really short when it's doubled like that. Yeah. uh, so it doesn't look bad, but when I did the other end, it looked a lot better. So I went back and fixed it after. And I'm like, here, this is what this looks like. Okay, let's go to the next side. I just do the beads on this one. Putting the beads on the thing. Putting the beads. And I'm working on making a subscription option for the rest of the year so that if you want to do a pre-order for the rest of the ones for this year, because they're all set up of what they're going to be, you can just order it once and it'll come to you every month at the beginning of the month. They typically come out the first Saturday of every month. This month I had it ready to go with the very first day, so I was gonna go ahead and release it. And yeah, but the subscription one, so you'll get September, October, November's craft, which October is knitting, and November is sewing. Okay, so here I am attaching the lobster clasp. And I'm going to try to do the same thing I did on the other side, where I just do a big overhand knot with the whole thing. And it's not going to work. I'm gonna be like, this thing is not going. So what I decided to do was put the lobster clasp right at the end of where the beads are at, and then just loop it and do a knot that way. But I do like 3 knots to keep it from going. So I knot it really close. That gives me a little bit more wiggle room to work with the end. And like I said, if you don't like struggling like I do apparently, if you don't put the knots all through this whole decorative area, at the end of each section of beads, you'll end up with about an extra inch. So you'll have a little bit longer necklace, or you'll have more length to play with at the end here. So I did 3 knots there and just tugged it to make sure it's secure. And you'll want to do that, pull from the bead side and pull from the hook side, and then also pull the loose end in after each knot. So I knotted it once, pulled it, made sure it was really tight, knotted it again, pulled it, made sure it's really tight, and I did it one more time because, you know, hopefully this is a well-loved necklace and you'll wear it a lot, and I'll wear it a lot, and I did not want it to, you know, start weaseling its way out of a knot, you know, after 3 or 4 uses. And I don't know about you, but when I wear a necklace, it usually tends to like ride up to one side or the other, and so I usually have to keep pulling it down and adjusting it. This one hasn't done that so much, I think because the pinecone is a little bit heavier, so it stays where it's supposed to, but I have some other ones that will work its way all the way around. Yeah, see, I'm looking at it, I'm like, I don't like how that looks. But there's the end of it. It's really cute. You think you're done, Desiree, but you're not. You're not going to be happy with that. Yep, like, no. This is not gonna work. So we're just going to take that out, and then I'll do the same thing I did with the other side, where I just put it closer to the beads and then do 3 knots down at the end and tighten it after each one. And the jump ring is a heavy gauge, so if you are buying your own parts to make this, you'll want to get the heavier gauge jump ring. It'll withstand a lot more on and off of the clasp, and it won't snag in the hemp cord. It'll withstand a lot more, it'll last a lot longer, and it's not going to bend out of shape. And the nice thing about this beading project in particular is that it doesn't need any extra tools. I mean, you just need scissors if you want to trim the ends a little bit, or after you're done knotting it at the end, we trim it to 1/2 inch or so and then fray the ends so they don't pull out. But you don't need, a lot of fancy beading stuff for this one in particular. So it's a good beginner project, or it's a good like take along project where you can just put it in a bag and bring it with you to work on. Like if you're going camping or you're going, to the beach for a day and you're just hanging out and it gets stormy, you could work on this instead while you listen to the waves. There we go. Oh, that's much better. Much better. I just putting the clasp on to test the length between the two, and then I'm going to do the rest of the knotting here. I think I already did 2 knots, so I'm just going to do 1 more knot and tighten it up. Very happy. And I love the colors. I love the accent beads. I love the pine cone. I found the pine cone at an Etsy shop in Oregon. So it was a local seller, and it was the right size for the necklace for one, and in the right color. Because they had silver ones and they had gold ones, and I really wanted the antique brass look with the beads and with the glass beads too. It just looks more fall and more cozy to me. But if you're sourcing your own items, you could also there's gold available, silver. I'm sure you could find any kind of color, but those are the most widely available ones. And it's a 1/2 inch pine cone from top to bottom. It is finished. Well, thank you for listening, and I hope you really enjoyed crafting this together. Send me pictures, Instagram, Facebook, even email. It's whispercreekdesigns.imagine@gmail.com. If you want to email me pictures or a video, Whisper Creek Designs on Instagram. So I can see your creations, and if you did a different bead pattern, let me know. Oh my gosh! Alright, so my husband jumped in and scared me there. We do that pretty often, but I just wanted to pray over you before we go. And yeah. Dear Father, thank you for these ladies watching. Please bless them today and help them to have a heart drawn closer to you through creating things with their hands and through meditating on your word in their minds, Lord. Bless them. Help them to love you more and more. Help them to share the gifts that they have and to honor you with everything that you give them, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you have a wonderful week. And I hope to hear from you in whatever way you can reach out. And let me know if you need prayer for anything too. All right. Have a great day. Bye.